Canyons of the Ancients National Monument is one of the National Landscape Conservation System's monuments dedicated to the protection of cultural and natural resources. And the cultural resources are the paramount purpose for the designation because of the density of sites that we have here, over 100 sites per square mile. At the monument, we have invoked this concept that is the basis of everything we do, and that's operating as an outdoor museum and laboratory. So people can go into the field, they can see artifacts in situ, in place, and they do that through their own self-discovery. They earn that discovery.
Canyons of the Ancients National Monument is an incredible cultural landscape that has a long continuity of human occupation. There are a variety of tribal people who have ancestral connections to this landscape. Some of them are still neighbors, like the Navajo Nation and the Ute tribe, but others live in modern pueblos today, and they've never really abandoned this landscape at all. They still have very, very strong connections.
It's really interesting how in dealing with the Pueblos that their whole oral history, how they trace which Pueblo is associated with which particular site on the monument. And so to be able to have relationships with them that have been built on trust, to go out and they share information with us about why it's important and teach us about things to be looking for that otherwise, as Anglo, I would not have that cultural sensitivity to even notice that something was a shrine, an important shrine that had been maintained for probably generations and generations.
There's multiple ways of knowing the past. And one way of knowing is through the science of archaeology. Another way of knowing the past is the traditional histories of Pueblo people and the other American Indian groups that live in the Four Corners today. And we've done a number of projects together with the BLM and Canyons of the Ancients. For example, we just collaborated on a new brochure that informs people who are hiking the Sand Canyon Trail, which is the most heavily used portion of Canyons of the Ancients. And one of the things we collaborated on with that was Crow Canyon has a Native American advisory group, and through that group we brought American Indians here, and they were a part of the interpretation of the cultural resources that the public encounters when they hike on that trail. So we've done a variety of projects like that throughout the years that bring all three of those areas of mutual interest that Crow Canyon and Canyons of the Ancients has together: research, public education, and involving the American Indians, who are the descendants of the folks that used to live in Canyons of the Ancients.
Most all the 19 tribes that you see up through the Rio Grande Valley were all connected to the Four Corners area. And their story is that they were all always connected to that. And that's why we go back and do our pilgrimages every chance we get. And our spiritual ancestors are still there. Well, when we heard that this Kendra Morgan was going to come and do the minings, and right away, of course, the 19 tribes got concerned.
This is not a typical national monument. We do have oil and gas development, so we have compressor stations. These are huge facilities, massive structures, like 2-3 stories tall, big as a warehouse. And then you've got jack pumps, which are pumping oil, and you've got dog legs for the CO2. So you are going to see infrastructure from that. And I think a lot of times that surprises people, because they get out there and they didn't know if perhaps they would have stopped by, or or we had done a better job at really getting that message out. So right now we're working with industry, in fact, to do some interpretation here at the Heritage Center. So we have the largest CO2 deposit known in the world currently. And the amount of CO2 that goes out of the monument is somewhere in the vicinity of 331 billion cubic feet of CO2 a year. So people are really interested in working with this CO2, and they want to get it out and move it to oil wells in Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, so that they can pump it into oil wells it makes that oil more viscous, and it pressurizes the well, so we're able to produce more oil out of those wells, which allows us, helps BLM to meet some of the energy demands that we have. But in trying to locate those oil wells in amongst the 100 sites per square mile is one of the largest, hugest challenges we have. So we work with consulting with the tribes to find some resolution. So we've been able to get the tribes on the ground with the BLM, with the oil industry, and find some solutions, come up with some really creative ways to think about how and where we place those oil wells. So that's been really interesting, and I think that value added with bringing the tribes in and having them articulate those things in their own words has been a much more powerful way to work with the industry and have them understand the concerns that the tribes have.
So every fall we go up there, all the 19 tribes will get together. They'll exchange, collaborate with the needs of the sites, and then the needs from the 19 pueblos. What do we need to do? I guess protection is what we call the perpetuity care. Through the collaborations and through the information that's given to us, we try to assist them. So that way the both areas can be taken care of the way it should be.